to explain is that NATO today is a part of the international community and is taking part or leading military operations to fight these challenges which I was quoting before, the terrorism, the piracy, the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. And so, in a way, NATO is one of the organizations which is making the interface in the security and military field between the two challenges. And I think today this is a signal where we have really to think about the future and not to think only about the past. We have to say goodbye to the outdated security paradigm of yesterday, and above all by exploring new approaches of security cooperation, reaching out beyond geographical, cultural and religious boundaries. The Cold War for us is over. This is a very strong message that we are passing to many post-Soviet nations and partners. We are talking about basically today fighting for values much more than for territories. And since we are existing and working with partners, we need definitely to dedicate a lot of attention to what our partners are thinking about what we are doing, and also to try to find interfaces between a common interest. And I think this is the essence of Partnership for Peace and the Council of Euro-Atlantic Partnership. NATO is evolving quite quickly. As of all the so-called Bretton Woods institutions, I'm not claiming that NATO is a Bretton Woods institution, but it's a similar one because it was created more or less at the same time. Of all the international organizations, either global, either regional, NATO is one of those who has evolved the quickest. I must admit that 12 or 15 years ago, I would have never thought to see NATO being in charge of the security of Afghanistan. This is something which is a real change in our own mentalities and in our own long-term understanding of the cultural identity of Europe and of NATO. We are evolving. There are three ways to evolve. First of all, we are evolving with the new strategic concept that we are discussing within NATO allies and also with NATO partners. And I hope that we will be able to organize a roundtable as well in Belgrade to listen to the opinions and the ideas of your experts with that regard. We are trying to reflect with our own new strategic concept, which is in the making for the moment, of course. We are trying to reflect the new security challenges I was mentioning earlier and the lessons learned from the past, and also to give a fair place to non-military aspect of security, because you cannot fight cyber-terrorism, you cannot fight the global warming, for example, which has a security impact as well with tanks and fighters. So this is having an impact on own military planning and military thinking. And also the new strategic concept that we are discussing and developing, and since we are developing and discussing it as well with partners, is a signal that we do take into account what other players are thinking as well. The second aspect of the changes, I would say, in the philosophy of NATO is the new comprehensive approach with new and old partnerships. Today, the alliance, without becoming a global or gendarme, is having contacts with China, with Australia, and Australia actually is taking part, is a contributor of our operation in Afghanistan. We are working together with the international organizations because obviously we cannot solve problems, we cannot be the only one to solve the problems. And the comprehensive approach together with international organizations, international institutions, non-governmental organizations is something which is not only à la mode, but is a necessity. It's a necessity for us to have similar rules of engagement when we are, for example, trying to reconstruct certain parts of Afghanistan where NATO is playing one role with its own niche and other countries are playing their own role with their, or international organizations playing their own roles with their own niches. The third way of the fundamental changes, I would say, in NATO is enlargement of a community of values, much more of a territory, and I'm insisting on that. NATO is not about territories only, it's about the values. This is enlargement on a voluntary basis, performance-based. It has been proven in other membership action plan countries or in other potential candidate countries that it was a development tool, but again, I'm not making the commercial for this here, I'm just explaining the reality. It's absolutely a non-obligatory process, even if NATO has an open door policy. It's a non-obligatory process, and every country has to decide for himself, what he wants to do in terms of security and what kind of alliances or type of security arrangements he wants to have. Either neutrality, either 1+1 alliances with countries, either strategic partnerships with big organizations. It's up to each country, I guess, to decide at the end of the day. Today, NATO enlargement is not geared against a precise country. This is geared against, let's say, first of all, to guarantee ourselves against ourselves. It's a kind of life insurance for our own countries, as I was saying at the beginning. And secondly, it is for us, a philosophy of development of international relations for the future. Maybe before I proceed to close, a word on the NATO-Russia relationship, which is extremely important today. It's one of the priorities of the alliance, together with the operation in Afghanistan, and this is linked, of course. We need Russia as much as Russia needs us, and this is something which is being shared by the two sides today. Even if the partnership with the strategic partnership with the Russian Federation is not an easy one, but still we have areas of common understanding and strategic interest. One of them being obviously the fight against terrorism, and the other one being Afghanistan. And obviously, without the Russian Federation, there cannot be a future security guaranteed in Europe and in the world, and this is also something that we are convinced of. Therefore, we on our side are engaging the Russian Federation. And it's a myth and a stereotype to believe that NATO is a threat to Russia. To the contrary, I believe that the 60 diplomats, Russian diplomats who are accredited here in NATO, amongst them the representative of the Rosoboronexport, which is lobbying for selling spare parts of the Russian armaments in the allied countries here, is a signal that they do not consider us as a threat. And there is an evolution in the thinking